We're going to take a look at paper. Paper is very important, obviously, to the print production process. It is what your pixels on screen on paper and into your client's hands. So it's a tactile, real experience for clients to feel the paper. We're going to look at the paper making process real quick. We're going to then talk about the different types of paper, some of the qualities you need to know, and choosing papers with your print sales representative. So, as you know, paper is made mainly from trees. There are other sources of paper, sources of fiber to make papers, such as linen, cottons, hemp, bamboo, etc. But essentially, the paper making process is pretty similar for all of them. And it starts by chipping up the tree into very fine chips where it gets mixed with water and chemicals into a pulp mixture. Chemical pulping breaks down the chips into tiny fibers. And so those fibers get stirred and mixed together into a slurry, and it gets bleached, cleaned, and bleached so it becomes white. And then that slurry is laid out over these large screens, which lets the water drain away from it and keeps the fibers back. And the fibers will eventually dry and the water gets pressed out of it on these big rollers to dry them out and form them into sheets and rolls. During that process of the rollers, they can apply different effects to them. They can put textures on them, they can coat them, they can tint them with color so they can color the paper. And so a variety of things happen at this point where the paper's not completely done yet. It's still a little wet, but it's mainly dry and it's almost a finished product. So coating and coloring and texturing paper happens, and then it finally gets put onto these giant rolls, and the rolls get slit down into smaller rolls, but they're still quite large, and then the rolls can be delivered, or they can be cut into sheets right there. So here's a picture, some pictures of paper on the rolls. You can see the top left corner. There's an enormous roll coming off of the paper making machinery. That giant roll gets cut into smaller rolls, but they're still quite large, as you can see below and over to the right. The rolls, I've seen those working in print shops where the paper is rolled. They'll be stacked 4 or 5 rolls high, which is kind of daunting when you're walking through and you're hoping that they're not going to fall over. But rolls of paper can be used directly onto a press, which is called a web press. And a web press just has a roll of paper at one end that gets fed in to the press and goes through all the printing cylinders. And when it comes out, and there's a cutter at the end which cuts it into the sheets and gets sheeted at the end. Or the roll can be put onto what's called a sheeter, which is just a machine that takes the roll and cuts it up into sheets. It cuts it into standard sheet sizes. And then you take those sheets and you feed those sheets into a sheet-fed press.